Do you think stress is a big role in erectile dysfunction?
Yes, but I wouldn't consider it like day-to-day stress or work stress or anything like that. I think that sometimes it's the fear of not being able to perform, or even like the good stress, but you're so excited that you can't perform, You know what I mean? Because like there becomes a disconnect between the mind and body. And because I experienced it. When I was about 31, 32, I thought that I was going through erectile dysfunction, but it was actually performance anxiety. So I would get in my head like, oh no, don't. And it's like, and then I'm thinking, oh, don't think, because if you're thinking, by that time it's too late. You got to reconnect, you got to get back to the space you were in when you were aroused, because once you get in your head, you disconnected from the body.
I'm not worried about that performance anxiety.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I suffered with that for what felt like a year. And because the first time it happened, it was this girl I really, really wanted to be with. And she made a move. She was going down. And I'm like, oh my God, she's about to go down. And then I couldn't believe it. Like, what? This is the time to shine, And I couldn't do it. And then the next time it happened, then the next girl it happened, I'm like, I gotta get ahead of this, you know what I mean? And so whenever I was about to have sex, I would instantly just think, I hope it don't happen. And then I'm out of my body, I'm in my head, So it took me a minute to reverse that.
All right. Health reasons now for erectile dysfunction. Can you talk on that?
Yeah. I would say that you should, as far as the health stuff, you got to eat things that don't constrict blood flow and things that open up the veins or whatever it is, the vascular system or whatever. So typically things that are high in water, like fruit's going to have natural water in it automatically. They say watermelon, I think blueberries. Those are the two that I typically use, you know what I mean? And then I think there's some tree nuts too that you could eat that kind of help with that. But I try to, especially if it's right before I'm about to go in, it's like no dairy. I try not to have no meat, nothing heavy or typically greasy, because it's going to constrict the blood flow. You know what I'm saying? But I say mentally you can overcome those things, because desire is a powerful thing, you know what I mean? But yeah, definitely I would stay away from anything that's going to pretty much clog your arteries, you know what I mean?
And what about men when they no longer find their woman attractive? Married men.
Yeah, see, man, that's a tough one. I'm not married, I haven't been in too many real long-term relationships, but one thing that I try to do when I'm with a woman is to not have too much sex, Like I remember when I was in church, the last church I was in, we learned a lot about the Hebrew culture. And they, from at least the ancient Hebrews, I don't know about the Jewish people of today, like at least the ancient Hebrews, they only had sex about 2 weeks out of the month, because 1 week the woman was menstruating and it was unclean, and then I think she took a week to cleanse herself. So those were 2 weeks where you couldn't touch your wife. That creates a sense of desire when, the common like understanding that women have today is if I basically drain him before he leaves the house, then, I'll be fine. But what that does is it creates it builds a repulsion. Because we have to understand that, of course, no, people don't like to say this, but we're a part of the animal kingdom. We're human animals. And, procreation and all that and our proliferation, all those things are really what drive all our nature. So at the end of the day, when a man orgasms and he gets soft, that's nature's way of sending him to another woman. So in order to kind of counteract that, you have to practice semen retention, or at least orgasm retention, so the goal isn't to come. The goal is to have sex, to have intimacy, to please your woman, to create like a journey in a sense, but not necessarily to orgasm at the end, because one, if she doesn't orgasm, she's not done when you're done, So if you don't orgasm, you kind of keep this sexual arousal. It could go on for days, and you keep yourself pretty much at the edge, which heightens your desire, which also shapes your perspective. So you see her different. Like I've noticed that it makes me look at the woman and see her as being even more beautiful, because like when, exactly, you don't get the post clarity or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So instead you keep yourself, it's just manipulation of the mechanism. That's how I look at it. If we know how to manipulate animals, we can make them procreate all day. It's like if we understood ourselves the same way, then we could hijack that too. So you don't end up in a state where nature is basically trying to make you go plant seed in another ground, because that's really what it's about. You know, so a man's refractory period is shortened if you bring another woman in the room. You know, so it's that means something. So it's like you got to keep the woman new, because in the beginning, when we're in the honeymoon stage, which is basically nature bringing us together to procreate, you know, together long enough to procreate, in the beginning it's very easy. It's almost like you can't even imagine never, you know, not wanting this woman. But eventually, nature, it takes its course, it does what it's supposed to do, and then it tries to drive you apart. So if you understand that, then you have to, you know, take measures in order to try to mitigate that. And I think one of the best things to do would be reducing the amount of sex, almost to the point where you just wait until you can't take it anymore. You know, it changes, it makes, it's like when you first with a woman and you're like really falling for her, you don't have time to argue. You could look over you know what I mean? So it's like you want to put yourself back in that state. That's what works for me.